When you think about it, the trust we put in medical devices is pretty huge, right? I mean, from something simple like a thermometer you grab at the pharmacy, uh, all the way up to these incredibly complex surgical tools,
Mm.
we just assume they work. And more than that they're safe.
Yeah, we really do.
But how much actual thought goes into making sure they're safe? Not just effective, but fundamentally safe.
Mm.
It's this vast, complex world behind the scenes. And today we're doing a deep dive into what's really the backbone of it all. Good documentation practices, GDP.
Exactly. That's spot on. And for you listening, maybe you're drowning in information or prepping for a big meeting, or maybe you're just curious. Well, this deep dive, it's kind of a shortcut to understanding why every little detail really, really matters. We'll be focusing on these critical principles called ALCOA plus E, and how they connect to essential records. Things like the design history file, the device master record, and the device history record. Believe me, these aren't just boring regulations. They're genuinely the bedrock of keeping patients safe.
Okay, so let's start broad then. What's the sort of the main framework, the big rules governing medical device quality, at least here in the U.S.?
Right. So the big one we're talking about is FDA 21 CFR Part 820.
Okay, Part 820.
Yep. And this isn't just some random guideline. It lays out the current good manufacturing practice requirements, CGMP, for basically every medical device maker in the U.S. The whole point is to make sure companies have a solid quality management system, a QMS,
Yep, like a QMS.
yeah, to ensure the products they make are safe, effective, and meet all the rules. It's kind of like the master blueprint for quality.
And within that blueprint, why is the documentation part so incredibly important? We hear that phrase all the time. If it isn't written down, it didn't happen. What's really behind that?
Ah, yeah, that phrase. It sounds simple, but it carries, well, immense weight in this field. The key thing is detailed records create this unbroken chain, this history of how a device was designed, how it was made, tested, every single step taken to ensure its quality.
Traceability.
Exactly. Traceability. It's not just nice to have, it's fundamental.
Yep.
If you can't trace everything back, every material, every setting, every test, you can't really guarantee it's safe and effective. And from a regulator's point of view, if there's no documented proof, well, it simply didn't happen. Full stop.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you say detailed records, what kind of specifics are we talking about? What do manufacturers actually need to write down?
Oh, it gets granular. Very granular. We're talking recording the exact raw materials used down to the specific batch or lot numbers.
So you could trace ingredients right back to the source.
Precisely. And documenting the exact settings on the equipment, temperature, pressure, how long it ran for all those critical process parameters. And of course, meticulously recording the results of every single quality control test. Not just the results, but the methods used, the criteria for passing.
Everything.
Everything. And don't forget the people. You have to document who did each step and exactly when they did it. That creates the complete audit trail.
Okay, that level of detail, it sounds like it could get overwhelming pretty fast. Is there like a guiding principle, a standard for how this documentation should actually be managed to make sure it's trustworthy?
Absolutely. And that is exactly where the ALCOA plus principles come into play.
ALCOA plus out.
Yep. This framework, it's really the core of good documentation practices, GDP.
Yeah.
And it's arguably even more important now with everything going digital. It's the standard for all records, paper or electronic.
ALCOA plus blank.
Yeah,
Sounds important. Can you break down what each letter actually stands for? What do they mean in like practical terms?
Let's do it. It's actually pretty logical once you unpack it.
Yeah.
So A is for attributable. It has to be crystal clear who recorded the data or performed an action and when.
Okay, so accountability.
Right. But it's more than just signing off. Think about if there's a problem later, a recall maybe. Knowing exactly who did what and when is crucial for investigating quickly and effectively. It's not about blame. It's about fixing things fast.
Got it. L.
L is for legible. Pretty straightforward, right? All entries have to be readable, understandable, and permanent. And this isn't just about neat handwriting anymore. For electronic records, it means the data has to be clear, unambiguous, and won't, degrade or become unreadable over time or across different systems. That's a real challenge sometimes.
Okay, C.
C is for contemporaneous. This means you record the activity at the time it happens, not hours later, not the next day.
Why is that so critical?
Accuracy, mainly. Think about trying to remember exact measurements or observations from memory. Recording it contemporaneously ensures the data is accurate and reflects what actually happened right then and there.
Makes sense.
O is for original. The record should be the first place the data is captured, the primary source. You want to avoid relying on copies or transcriptions if you can help it, or at least manage them very carefully. It's about preserving that raw, untampered data.
Right. And the second A.
A is for accurate. The records have to be a true reflection of what happened. No errors, no falsifications. It sounds obvious, but accuracy is non-negotiable. Bad data can lead to unsafe devices.
Okay, so that's ALCOA. But you said LCOA plus. What's the
It's
plus?
plus. Good catch. The plusitas adds a few more critical dimensions, really rounding out the concept. So the plus includes complete. All the necessary information needs to be there. No gaps. You can't just record the good results. You need the full picture.
Okay.
Then consistent. The documentation should be chronological, logical, and the methods used should be consistent over time. If you test the same thing twice, the records should reflect that consistency.
Right.
Enduring. The information needs to last. It has to remain intact, readable, and reliable for the entire required retention period, which can be years, even decades. Think about archiving, backups.
Wow, yeah.
And finally, available. The records have to be easily accessible when needed. Think audits, investigations, recalls. If you can't find the record quickly, it might as well not exist in the eyes of an auditor.
That's a really comprehensive framework. So how does this translate to the digital world? You mentioned electronic records.
Right.
How do ALCOA plus principles apply there?
They are absolutely the foundation, maybe even more critical with digital data because changes can be harder to spot. So regulations like 21 CFR Part 11 come into play, dealing specifically with electronic records and electronic signatures.
Okay, Part 11.
Yeah. This means you need secure systems that prevent unauthorized people from getting in or changing data. You need secure, computer-generated, time-stamped audit trails that track every change, what was changed, who changed it, when, and why.
Like a digital footprint for every piece of data.
Exactly. And critically, any software used for this stuff, creating, managing, storing electronic records, it has to be validated.
Validated.
Meaning you have to rigorously test and document that the software does exactly what it's supposed to do accurately and reliably every single time. Think secure logins, digital signatures, data encryption. These are the digital ways of ensuring that ALCOA plus integrity.
Got it. Okay, let's zoom in then on 3 specific documents you mentioned earlier. The design history file, DHF, device master record, DMR, and device history record, DHR. How do these fit into this whole picture?
Right. These 3 are crucial. They're distinct, but they're also deeply linked. Think of them as maybe different chapters telling the story of the device.
Okay, chapter 1.
Chapter 1 is the design history file, the DHF. This is required by FDA 21 CFR Part 820.30. Essentially, it's the complete story of how the device was designed. It bundles together all the records from the design and development process, your design plans, the inputs, like what the device needs to achieve, the outputs, the actual specifications, design reviews, risk analysis, verification testing, did we build the device right according to the specs, and validation testing, did we build the right device for the user's needs, plus how that design was transferred to manufacturing. It shows all the thinking and testing behind the design.
Okay, so that's the why and how of the design. What's the DMR?
The device master record, or DMR. That's referenced in 820.181. If the DHF is the design story, the DMR is the detailed recipe or blueprint for actually making the device.
The instruction manual.
Exactly. It contains all the approved specifications, drawings, procedures, quality assurance steps, labeling, packaging instructions, everything needed to consistently manufacture that specific device according to the validated design from the DHF. If a device needs rework, for example, the rework has to follow the specific DMR requirements, too.
And the DHR?
The device history record, DHR. That's in 820.184. This one is like the birth certificate for each specific batch, lot, or sometimes even individual unit of a device.
Ah, so specific to what was actually produced.
Precisely. It documents the actual production history. It shows that a specific batch or unit was manufactured according to the instructions in the DMR. It includes things like dates of manufacture, quantities, labeling used, any control numbers like lot numbers or serial numbers, and the results of tests performed during production. It proves that this specific device met the requirements.
So how do they all work together then? DHF, DMR, DHR, what's the flow?
It's a really clear, logical progression. The DSF documents how the device was designed, the rationale, the evidence. That approved design then dictates what goes into the DMR, which is the master instruction set on how to build it consistently.
Okay.
And finally, the DHR provides the proof, the record, that each specific batch or unit was actually built following those DMR instructions, thereby fulfilling the design intent from the DHF.
Right. It connects the design intent to the actual product.
Exactly. They're all interlinked and absolutely essential for showing regulators you're following the rules and fundamentally ensuring the device is safe and effective. And just briefly, there's also the Quality System Record, or QSR, mentioned in 820.186. That's kind of an umbrella record holding procedures and documentation for the overall quality system, not just one specific device.
This whole system, it's clearly vital for compliance. But what about when things, go wrong? How does all this documentation help when problems pop up?
That's a really important point, because things do sometimes go wrong. Maybe a component fails or there's an unexpected issue reported. Good documentation is your investigation toolkit. It's like that detective's case file we mentioned.
Right.
You can go back through the DHR for that specific batch, check the DMR instructions that were supposed to be followed, maybe even trace components back using lot numbers documented way back at the start. It lets you pinpoint potential causes, understand the root cause, and then take effective corrective and preventive actions, KPay. And KPay itself relies heavily on documenting the investigation, the actions taken, and checking if they worked.
I could see how having incomplete or inaccurate records would make that almost impossible.
Utterly impossible, or at least much, much harder and less reliable. I remember hearing about an inspection where just one missing signature on one batch record. It put thousands of devices on hold. It showed they couldn't prove that step was done right. That's the real-world impact.
Wow. And what about audits? Those FDA inspections everyone talks about.
Yeah, audits. Well, comprehensive ALCOA plus compliant documentation isn't just helpful. It's basically non-negotiable. Auditors are like detectives. They're piecing together the story of your device, verifying your processes. Their main goal is ensuring data reliability and patient safety.
So that phrase comes back again.
If it's not documented, it didn't happen. Exactly. For an auditor, that's essentially true. You need to be able to pull up the DHF, the DMR, the specific DHRs, training records, calibration records, quickly and efficiently show them you're following your own procedures and the regulations.
So it seems like good documentation isn't just about checking boxes or reacting to problems. It sounds like it feeds into making things better overall. Continuous improvement.
Exactly right. It's proactive, not just reactive. By analyzing trends in your DHR data, for instance, or reviewing design controls in the DHF based on post-market feedback, companies can spot areas to improve, maybe refine a manufacturing step, enhance a testing procedure, update the design slightly. It really fosters what people call a culture of quality, where everyone understands why these details matter. It helps build quality from the very beginning, like the quality by design principles encourage.
Okay, so we've really dug into good documentation practices today.
Yeah.
Explored LCHF, unpacked the DHF, DMR, DHR.
Yeah.
It's so clear this isn't just, paperwork for the sake of paperwork. It's fundamental to building trust, maintaining quality, and ultimately protecting patients. It's the story of the device.
Couldn't have put it better. All that detail, all those interconnected systems, they're meticulously designed to protect you, the patient, at every single stage. It's like this silent promise working constantly in the background of healthcare.
All right. As we wrap up this deep dive, maybe a thought to leave you with. If this level of meticulous documentation, this LCOA plus standard, is so vital for something as critical as a medical device, how might applying some of those same principles, attributable, legible, contemporaneous, original, accurate, complete, consistent, enduring, available to the documentation in your own life or work, personal projects, team collaborations, complex tasks, how might that lead to better reliability, maybe fewer mistakes, and just a stronger foundation of trust in what you do?
Definitely something to think about. Keep digging, keep learning, stay curious.